A very good evening and welcome to the Fourth Estate. It is the 1st of December, World AIDS Day, the 25th anniversary of the commemoration of World AIDS Day today. And also yesterday, leaders from the East African community sign up on that protocol that will see the region finally move to a single currency. But the man who has been in the news over the last many weeks, Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago, is he actually still Lord Mayor or is former Lord Mayor, as government prefers to call him? The shutdown of the city and the order for reopening are the issues we'll be discussing tonight. And let me start with my colleague, Rodney Muhumuza. Rodney, very nice to have you once again.
Charles.
Rodney is a journalist and a writer. And we've been having him, this is the third week, so we appreciate that you're still able to make it.
Thanks.
I need to announce that we're enabled this evening to have Chris Obore joining us, and of course Angelo is still traveling. So we have the guest tonight, the Lord Mayor Erias Lukwago. Very nice to have you, sir.
Thank you, Charles and Rodney. Good evening, viewers.
There's been a security ring around your house for the last so many days. I'm wondering how you managed to make it today. We're actually planning to drive over to your place and get you out. Has it been lifted or not?
Well, unfortunately, they don't communicate. You just see them sitting off the home, and all of a sudden, they withdraw. So I have no clear program on how they do their thing. I don't know when they will pounce on me again, when they will come and cordon off my home again. But for the last 2 days, at least, I've been kept indoor since Friday morning. I was not allowed to get out. So last night, they withdrew. So this morning,
you woke up and you found
there was
you
no
could drive out.
I could drive out.
You could go back tonight and then find they have sealed off the place again.
I won't be surprised.
You won't be surprised.
Yes.
On Friday, the Prime Minister, who's a lawyer, seated together with the Attorney General, who's another lawyer, Jennifer Msisi, who's also a lawyer, the Prime Minister announced that you are former Lord Mayor.
Don't forget General Ronda Nyakairima.
Yes, General Ronda Nyakairima is also a lawyer.
And Honorable Frank Tumwevas.
Honorable Frank Tumwevas is not a lawyer.
Not a lawyer,
yes.
But General Ronda, yes.
And they announced and said, you are no longer Lord Mayor, you are former Lord Mayor. What is your status at the moment?
With due respect to the Prime Minister and all those gentlemen and ladies who were there at that press conference, they were just indulging in idle talk. Idle talk because, I mean, a court pronouncement is supreme. Their arguments, the entire state machinery or government presented their views before court, and they were overruled. The same arguments they advanced at that press conference were presented before the judge on Monday. And the judge reserved the matter for ruling on Thursday. So the Attorney General was there in court. A ruling was delivered and said, all what you are saying holds no water. We carried the day. So in a country where there is rule of law, I would expect them to respect the court order. But here we are, since this is a banana republic, it's a prior state.
How can you admit that you are a Lord Mayor of a capital city of a banana republic?
Should I go into exile?
Of a prior state?
I mean, that's the unfortunate. Actually, that's one thing which pains me so much. That I've assumed office at a time when the country is faced with this crisis. We're almost at crossroads, on the verge of becoming a failed state if we're not already there. So, what do? I am the Lord Mayor of a capital city in a country which is almost a collapsed state. I have to contend with that situation and be part of the forces that will bring the country back to a proper course, to a constitutional order.
Can you explain that exactly? What do you mean? What are you working on to make sure that you bring the country to what you call a proper course?
You see, the primary concern we have, our generation, actually it's a generational challenge, restoration of rule of law and constitutional order in this country. You can see there is a crisis. The state is in a crisis. The institutions are crumbling all over. It's not actually restricted to KCCA. Yes, we're in a spotlight right now. But there is a looming crisis all over. Parliament, the judiciary, all these other institutions under the under the management of the current regime. They are in a crisis. It's only that we are now in the limelight as KCCA, and you are focusing on us. So that's typical of a failed state. That's one characteristic.
But Mr. Lukwago, you have been running the city for almost 3 years now as a Lord Mayor. Both your supporters and your critics ask for one thing. What can you look to in the last 3 years and say, Lord Mayor, since he was elected in this new position, this is what he has been able to achieve? What we see on the contrary is that a tribunal with powers of the High Court reviews your performance following a petition by some of your councillors and finds you incompetent.
Before I come to the broader question,
indicts you for, among other things, not being able to sign minutes of a meeting. Seriously?
You see, before I address my mind to that broader issue of the role I'm supposed to play in KCCA or in Kampala here, just focus on, actually, you ask yourself if you have a critical and analytical mind. For the last 2.5 years I've been in office, the government is pushing this idea within the public domain that there is a paradigm shift. The new legal regime in Kampala changed or shifted the power center from the office of the Lord Mayor to the office of the Executive Director. And that what was stripped off the office of the Lord Mayor and vested into the office of the Executive Director has been exercised excellently. And for me, I'm supposed to be purely ceremonial. You come to to the assessment of my performance in the process established and initiated by the state. You use different benchmarks, so yardstick to assess my performance. That's a contradiction. Because if you have already said my office is purely ceremonial, then what should be before the tribunal? Have I lived up to the expectations of that ceremonial led mayor? There would be a number of cases, charges. There was such and such a function at Kololo, he never attended it. There were guests from such and such a country, he never welcomed them properly in the city. The president wanted to come to the city and I prohibited. So if I were to take that argument, as has been advanced by the state, but to take it a little bit higher, because I've always resisted that, and this one achievement I've registered. Because I've tried to engage all government institutions to have the law interpreted. And I've detested the idea of resigning to that fate that, you see, my office is a purely ceremonial. Okay. And that has been advanced. Many of you, the REITs, saying, but you find a formula on how you can work with the Executive Director under that arrangement as defined by the state, contrary to the law. The law says the Lord Mayor is in charge of initiating all the programs of the city for the transformation and development of the capital city. And I'm supposed to sit it down with the Metropolitan Physical Planning Authority to come up with a broader or grand plan for the transformation of Kampala. That is the development plan. I'm supposed also to handle the issues of accountability, to play the oversight role. I'm enjoying to establish the accounts committee that will help me in playing that role, and I'm supposed to preside over all the authority meetings so that we initiate policies and hand them over to the Executive Director and the technical team to implement the same. We're also supposed to set service delivery standards, the standards that must be complied with by the technical team in addition to other things. But all that which is provided, clearly defined within the law, has been rubbished and trivialized by the state to say your office is a purely ceremonial.
So who's doing that now that you're not doing it? Who's doing that? Who's doing those activities?
You would ask the chairperson of the tribunal, Justice Bamugemereye.
No, I'm asking you as Lord Mayor, who has been doing that for the last 3 years?
I have been trying amidst all those challenges.
Trying is not doing.
Okay, I've done my best under difficult circumstances.
What is your best?
My best, one, in addition to trying to come out assertively, to bring it to the attention of everybody, all the stakeholders, including government institutions like a parliament and the courts and so on and so forth. I've raised it in I've raised that very issue in the authority meeting. But away from that, I implored the minister to put in place, not even the current minister, all the ministers we have had before, to put in place these vital organs of the authority, starting with the Metropolitan Physical Planning Authority, because everything hinges on that. The critical challenge we are facing in Kampala right now, it's not about fixing one road here, planting a flower there, or desilting the gullies, or you put up a street light also. No, it's about crafting a new plan, a new development, structured development plan for Kampala.
But Mr. Lord Mayor,
coming up with a socio-economic
I appreciate that 3 years into office, both for yourself and for the city authority, the technical wing, and you still don't have a plan on which this city is run, where you plan to take it. This is a beautiful city, by the way, Rodney, that is on a lake shore. Many people don't realize that. That if you go to Munyonyo, if you go through Gaba, up to Luzira, all the way towards Mukono, which is part of, which would be part of the larger metropolitan area, all the way back to Entebbe. This is a lakeside city that should be beautiful and worked on. You and the technical wing have spent the last 3 years fighting that for the first time in the history of this country and in the history of Kampala capital city, you have a shutdown announced because a political supervisor and the technical head of the institution cannot work together.
I'm sorry I have to repeat myself again and again and again in every forum where I appear on this very, very critical issue until you appreciate its full import. The role, rather the significance of institutional building. One major problem I've seen with you, particularly in the media and some circles of the REITs, you want to hype so much individual characters and say, yes, this one has done this one has not done A, B, C, D. But what you demand from LUKWAGO, Jennifer and everybody, should be institutional achievements. So 2 years down the road, I've struggled to ensure that we have a robust, a vibrant institution called the KCCA that is capable of delivering the city you want. And that is no mean achievement.
Well, but yeah, they are concerned.
That is one issue. Then coming to the question, the specific one, you'll come in specifically the issue of the plan. I also share the same views. Say, Peter, that the plan we had expired way back in 1994, 20 years, more than 20 years actually, we have had no valid plan for Kampala. But we are not seated. Personally, I've cried out, my heart out for those who out there can listen and care and say, what do we do under the circumstances? World Bank injected in 38 billion Uganda shillings to help us pursue that cause. Consultants were secured from Israel and South Africa. They prepared a draft report for us. It was given to us in June last year, 2012. It was presented to us. And it's a very beautiful document, over 400 pages, trying to show us how we can transform Kampala into a modern city, a metropolis of kind. But now this Kwara you see, doing this and that, and then you hype it. Today flowers are planted along Ginger Road. The next day, we want to extend it to a 6 carriageway. Then
you just said, and in our discussion before here, that you want achievements that are shared by institutions.
Yes.
You just repeated it and said, we in the media and the elite should not be hyping individuals, but appreciating institutions.
No, I don't want to lump that omnibus accusation. I said a section of the media and
a section of the elite.
Section of the elite. Not all of you. But I want you to appreciate the significance of this.
Yes, this section does not want a Lord Mayor who cries to everybody who can listen. They want a Lord Mayor who does things, who gets things done. Are you that Lord Mayor?
How powerful the state machinery is. You are lucky it has not descended on you. My friend, the state machinery can crush you. That's why it's called a coercive machinery. Historically, the state is a coercive institution. So if today, 2.5 years down the road, I've resisted the abuse of state power, President Museveni and his team all setting out to crush Lukwago at Stay Hall, to throw me out, and I've resiliently fought and soldiered on and said, no, this is the course we should take. You should give credit where it's due.
Credit where it's due. You're talking about building institutions. We'll pick this discussion up in a moment. You say building institutions, the technical wing of which you're supposed to be supervising has rejected you, has been fighting you. The technical wing, led by Jennifer Musisi, has rejected you and has been fighting you.
No, I've not said that.
The political wing voted 29 out of 34 against you. Let's pick the discussion.
No, that would be very unfair to say the entire technical wing is fighting me. That's not true.
Let's pick up the discussion after a short commercial break. We'll be right back.